Something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And here we are, kicking off another brand new day halfway through this week. Pretty close to Christmas. What are we, a week out now? That's right. It's that time of the year. Glad to have you on board from the shadow of Detroit and fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, which we do every single day. We got plenty to get to today, so let's get started. Number one, Dan Bongino to step down as the assistant director of the FBI. He'll step down in January, return to his radio career. Boy, is he going to make money. Number two, President Trump gave a primetime address to the nation from the White House Wednesday, and it sounded much like the beginning of the 2026 campaign season, going over accomplishments while lambasting Democrats for their failures along the way. And number three, we're going to talk about the press a little bit today. Vanity Fair, probably heard about this. Vanity Fair released a two-part piece on a spurt of interviews with Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles. A piece they thought might bring down the White House and all of Trump's accomplishments in a cloud of dust, because that's what the plan was. Of course, they were wrong. Vanity Fair twisted and distorted Susie's words with context, according to Susie, to shed what they thought was bad light on Trump's inner circle. But no one in that inner circle is even slightly taken aback. No one is getting thrown under the bus. Instead, they're all rallying behind Susie. Here is Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt's reaction. Listen.
This is, unfortunately, another example of disingenuous reporting, where you have a reporter who took the chief of staff's words wildly out of context, did not include the context those conversations were had within. And then further, I think the most egregious part of this article was the bias of omission that was clearly present. And we see a lot of this when dealing with the media every day. You will leave out important context, leave out comments and facts. You know, many people in this building spoke with that reporter, and those comments were never included in the story, probably because it didn't push this false narrative of chaos and confusion that the reporter was clearly trying to push. So what I'll say about our chief of staff, as you've seen from not just myself, but also the entire cabinet, and a groundswell of support from people on Capitol Hill who don't even work in this building, about how incredible Susie Wiles has been to President Trump. And he's been able to accomplish so much because of his leadership and his tenacity, but also because of Chief of Staff Wiles's leadership and her ability to effectuate his agenda.
She was reported as describing Trump as having an alcoholic's personality. Trump responded that he has no issue with that description. He says he does have the same obsessive, addictive streak that an alcoholic might have, which is in part why he has stayed away from alcohol. But his obsession then is with making America great again and putting America first. Susie was also reported as describing J.D. Vance as a longtime conspiracy theorist, which Vance says is something that he and Susie have joked about previously, because Vance says he is a conspiracy theorist. If you call believing what the media won't report until 6 months later a conspiracy theory, listen to this.
Sometimes I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true. And by the way, Susie and I have joked in private and in public about that for a long time. For example, I believed in the crazy conspiracy theory back in 2020 that it was stupid to mask 3-year-olds at the height of the COVID pandemic, that we should actually let them develop some language skills. You know, I believed in this crazy conspiracy theory that the media and the government were covering up the fact that Joe Biden was clearly unable to do the job. And I believed in the conspiracy theory that Joe Biden was trying to throw his political opponents in jail rather than win an argument against his political opponents. So, at least on some of these conspiracy theories, it turns out that a conspiracy theory is just something that was true 6 months before the media admitted it.
There you go. Now we have another conspiracy theory confirmed. The FBI did not have justification for raiding Mar-a-Lago back in 2022. But they did under the pressure from Joe Biden's Department of Justice. Kash Patel says that documents have been turned over to Capitol Hill proving exactly that, with one official quoted as not giving a damn. and much worse, actually, before executing the search warrant. He didn't care about the optics. But remember, this is what Merrick Garland said in 2022 about that raid. Here it is.
There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly.
Apparently they do. The Washington field office said there was no grounds for a search warrant. They did not establish probable cause. It's clear in all the memos now. The Washington field office of the FBI says we don't have it. Sounds like Merrick Garland and everyone involved have a lot to answer for. Whether or not they do, we'll find out. Of course, this isn't a shock, considering we know that Jack Smith planted those classified documents in this infamous leaked picture that was intended to sway American jurors against President Trump. Remember that? Will we see accountability? I don't know. Jack Smith currently under the microscope, sitting for a closed-door deposition with lawmakers. Senator Kennedy has very low expectations, and he's always interesting. Here he is.
What I would like to hear from Mr. Smith is the truth. I suspect it's highly unlikely he's interested in an outcome punishing someone he doesn't like. And I think he's going to be held accountable.
So we will see shortly how much they get out of this one. Search for answers on the Hill. A short time from now, former special counsel Jack Smith set to go behind.
Yeah. Smith sure didn't have anything to say to reporters outside the deposition. Nothing at all. Tight-lipped. Here he is.
Mr. Smith, do you have any regrets about the way your prosecutions of the president were handled? What do you plan to tell the committee today, sir? Mr. Smith, do you prefer a public setting for this hearing?
How about you respond, Jack?
Mr. Smith, you said you wanted a public hearing. What do you want the public to know, sir? Smith is going to be deposed behind closed doors by the House Judiciary Committee. That is chaired by...
Yeah, he was deposed, all right. His lawyer stuck with the same old talking points, the same thing. He only cares about the facts. Oh, please, listen.
Showing tremendous courage in light of the remarkable and unprecedented retribution campaign against him by this administration and this White House. Let's be clear. Jack Smith, a career prosecutor, conducted this investigation based on the facts and based on the law and nothing more. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. We're going to talk about the facts because we know for a fact that the FBI didn't have any evidence. They had no probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago in the summer of 2022. Their intent? Their only intent was to permanently disable the political career of Donald Trump. Boy, did that fail miserably. Boy, did that fail miserably, huh? Yeah, we've got emails to discuss and more. Coming up, nice to see you today. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Find out more at stevegruber.com. You can listen live there every day. I understand that YouTube is a great place to watch the show live every day. It's a growing audience, and they got a nice little conversation going on in there every single day. Check it out. The Steve Gruber Show on YouTube. I'll be back. All right, so let's dig into the evidence, right? Emails that have been released now between the FBI, internal officials in the FBI. One says, quote, very little has been developed related to who might be culpable for mishandling the documents, referring to these alleged classified documents at Mar-a-Lago that they say precipitated the raid, where, by the way, they said lethal force is authorized. They raid the home of a former president using the words lethal force is authorized. They never had anything to go on. The Washington field office said there's nothing here. We don't have probable cause. They did it anyway. Another one reads, we haven't generated any new facts, but keep being given draft after draft after draft, absent a witness coming forward with recent information about classified on site. At what point is it fair to table this? It is time-consuming for the team and not productive if there are no new facts supporting probable cause. But other emails show that the DOJ kept pressuring the FBI to do it anyway, and even admitting that the DOJ had a, quote, antagonistic relationship with Trump's team. One DOJ official wrote that he didn't give a damn about the optics of the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago. The FBI even concluded that a raid would be counterproductive, and there were much simpler and easier ways to retrieve any sensitive documents if there were any. But as we know, Mar-a-Lago was raided, all as a publicity and political stunt. Do you remember Joe Biden's reaction? Well, I'm sure he doesn't, but here's something to remind you.
When you saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago, what did you think to yourself, looking at that image?
How that could possibly happen, how anyone could be that irresponsible. And I thought, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods? By that I mean names of people who helped, or et cetera. And it's just totally irresponsible.
Yeah. Oh, the outrage. Of course, Biden was later discovered to have his own trove of classified documents that he was not entitled to have in boxes in his garage in Delaware, no less. Smith reportedly told lawmakers yesterday that he stands by his investigation of Donald Trump, an investigation that cost taxpayers over $55 million, 65% of that going straight towards salaries, all based on a scam. Smith's acting like the investigation only stopped because Donald Trump became president, but Judge Eileen Cannon dismissed the documents indictment against the president in July 2024. After determining his appointment by AG Garland violated the Constitution. It was an illegal appointment. The Supreme Court also gutted much of the January 6th indictment, with its immunity decision in July, and a separate SCOTUS decision in June wrecked the case against many J6ers, ruling improper use of U.S. Code 1512. That's the code that Jack Smith was trying to use against Donald Trump as well. It was all rotten. The whole thing was rotten and falling apart, but Smith wants to pin his failures on the election. And that's really the bottom line here. From Vanity Fair's breathless hit pieces to the DOJ pressure campaigns to a multi-million-dollar investigation built on hate instead of evidence. The media wanted Susie Wiles' comments to crack the foundation of the Trump White House. Did they ever learn? They never learn. Instead, they exposed how insulated his team is from fake scandals. No leaks, no infighting, no palace intrigue. Just a press corps tripping over themselves to manufacture drama that simply isn't there. It's right in line with the same playbook they've been using for nearly a decade. Weaponize the federal government, leak selectively to friendly outlets, and hope the accusation does serious damage. Send the torpedo. But the receipts, well, they're catching up. The truth? It's coming out. Internal emails from the FBI, DOJ officials admitting they didn't care about optics. Agents warning a raid would be unnecessary and counterproductive, and yet the order came down anyway because someone wanted to have that image. They wanted that picture of those documents so Joe Biden could... Someone wanted the photo. Someone wanted the headline. This wasn't about classified documents. It was about one thing, and one thing only: politics, and therefore power. It was about stopping Donald Trump by any means necessary, even if that meant bending the Constitution or busting it, ignoring probable cause, and burning through tens of millions of taxpayer dollars in the process. And now, as the walls close in on Jack Smith, the same people who insisted no one is above the law suddenly want us to believe accountability is unfair. that scrutiny is political, that questions are dangerous. No, what's dangerous is a justice system that answers to ideology instead of evidence. That's dangerous. What's dangerous is a DOJ that pressures the FBI to act first and justify those actions later. And what's dangerous is a media ecosystem that cheers it all on until the facts leak out and expose the truth. The American people were told the process should be trusted. Now we're seeing the process for what it really was. We're not buying it anymore because it cannot be trusted. Lied to? It's what they do. Yeah, the Trump White House doing just fine. You saw the comments last night from the president. We'll have some of that coming up a little bit later. Have you ever wondered why your metabolism turned off? Well, the truth is it's different for everyone. My Pure Health uses breakthrough science and technology to uncover your unique why and then fix it naturally. No shots. No endless shots, no endless exercise, just real food, a customized protocol, and weekly coaching. Men, you can lose up to 50 pounds in 40 days. Ladies, up to 32 pounds in that same time period. The best part, they don't help you lose it. They give you the tools and the information and the knowledge to keep it off for good. Look, the consultation is free. If you're looking at January, get booked now. Start in January. Book your free consultation today. See how simple it really is. What do you have to do? You go to gruberhealth.com. gruberhealth.com. Do that today. Take the first step toward a healthier, slimmer you. That's gruberhealth.com. Look, it's real results, real food, real simple. Not a bunch of shots for the rest of your life, all right? I mean, who really likes needles anyway? gruberhealth.com. That's right. That's what it's all about. Coming up, Congressman Bill Huizenga is going to join me. We're going to talk about those Venezuelan gunboats and drug boats and the military assault on illegal drugs coming into this country. Congressman Jack Bergman joining me today as well. Big show ahead. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Don't go anywhere. One of my longtime listeners, Tom, says, I didn't know you were on YouTube. I'm going to go sign up right now. Well, thank you, Tom. You should do it too. All right, YouTube. It's, according to Anthony, he said it's the best feed. Right, Anthony? That's what you tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, and there's a great chat in there every day. It's the Ivy Watch team is in YouTube there. Anyhow, great place to watch the program. It's also a great place to go back if you see a segment here and you're like, I want to see that again. Paul Seegert, for example, did an incredible breakdown of healthcare in America last week on this program. He's on for 45 minutes. If you didn't see it, he goes through the intricacies of insurance, of rates, and how they're arrived at, the money that we're taken and given to insurance companies, how we're screwed as American consumer. Paul Seegert, you can look that up on the YouTube channel. Just one example of the great interviews available. We have 2 members of Congress on the program today. Those interviews will be available come a little bit later today. It's just, you can go back through the archive. Find my interviews with President Trump, all sorts of great things on there. Enjoy that. YouTube, the best place to see the show. Dan Bongino setting his sights on January to step down from the FBI as the deputy director there. He's been there for about a year. He'll have been there about a year. Said he came in with a singular focus, and they found the pipe bomber in D.C., one of the big accomplishments of his tenure as the assistant director. or deputy director, I should say, of the FBI. He's going to go back to his very lucrative radio and podcast world. It's an empire he's built, right? So he's going back to that. Here's something for you for the perfect gift if you're like running low on time. You think, what should I do? Give the gift of relief with Patriots Relief. Something they'll truly appreciate. Right now, Patriots Relief gift cards are available in $25, $50, $75, $100, $150, and $200 increments. They're already 5% off automatically. So if you get a $100 card, you pay $95. But right now, use the promo code Gruber2. You'll double your discount. So a $100 card is $90. Sale prices right now. Real relief, real savings, a real deal for the holidays. PatriotsRelief.com. I use this stuff all the time. Anthony pulled his back. I gave him the Patriots Relief Intense Rub. I asked him a little while later, did it work? Yeah, it worked. Of course it worked. We only talk about things that work. PatriotsRelief.com. Back after this. Welcome back to the program. It's been a busy December, to say the least. A lot going on. Nothing bigger than Donald Trump's announcement here that Venezuela's regime is now a foreign terrorist organization, according to the president, and he's implementing the biggest blockade, he says, in South American history. Joining me now is Bill Huizenga from Michigan's 4th Congressional District. Congressman, thank you for being here.
Good to be with you as always, Steve.
This is the latest step. Look, we took over a freighter here full of oil as much as $100 million worth of oil, 1.8 million barrels in the skipper when it was taken over by the United States here a few days ago. This follows, of course, the attack on drug boats, which we'll get back to. But first, your take on Venezuela being designated as a foreign terrorist organization and the entire government being cited as such, and then the blockade of oil shipments in and out of the country. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so there's a lot all within that. And this is a logical extension of that same designation of the foreign terrorist organizations that was put on the drug cartels. And that is Tren de Agua that they use, but it's also FARC and a number of other traditional revolutionary organizations like that. This is a natural extension of that because we know that the Maduro regime and Maduro's entire government is geared to not just cooperate, but actually support those organizations. And so that is a logical extension in my mind, specifically regarding the tanker confiscation and boarding of that. About damn time. Okay, we have known about these ghost fleets going back years and years and years.
Decades.
The Russians have, yes, but more specifically, recently, we know that Russia has a ghost fleet operating out of the Baltics.
Right.
We know that Iran has a ghost fleet that is operating within the Gulf and taking Iranian oil, and they're doing refining at these what they call teapot refineries along the way. Most of that ends up in China, by the way, which they're all paying a discounted price for that oil because it's illicit. And then we have now Venezuela, one of those other major producers of oil that is within the Caribbean. And so, look, sanctions are only as good as your willingness to enforce them. In the last administration, even though they were layering on all of these various sanctions in light of Ukraine, for example, or Iran, they wouldn't enforce them. And these ghost ships, these ghost fleets that are out there, primarily used to be primarily Panamanian flagged.
Right.
We went after Panama quite hard, actually. Panama backed off of that, and now they're going into these other countries, but they are either intentionally turning off their transponders, contrary to international maritime law. They're flying the wrong flag and identifying, also contrary to maritime law. And they're hauling an illicit product that has been identified as a sanctioned product, also illegal. So
Right.
they have all those that were pearl clutching about this how could we possibly board this Venezuelan tanker and take this over, and isn't this aggressive? This is exactly what we should have been doing and what we should be doing to more of. So I applaud the
that's
president.
right. This money is funding drug terrorism, human trafficking, murder, kidnapping, and more. That's all from the president's truth tweet, and he's right. It's all true. He posts that out there. It's been going on for years. I want to go right to the drug boats. The Democrats seem to think it's more important that we protect the lives of drug runners and drug dealers than the people that have died in your district just this year, Bill. I found a little town north of Escanaba called Rapid River, Michigan. 335 people. 5 people there have died in the last year from fentanyl poisoning. It's time we start thinking about the average American citizens that are burying their sons, their daughters, their fathers, their mothers, and their neighbors before we worry about the drug dealers bringing this poison here. That's my position. What do you say?
Yeah, amen to that. And fortunately, it seems like Mexico is turning a corner on this, but we know places like Venezuela are not. Colombia is the producer of the vast majority of the cocaine, but Venezuela is the pipeline. And we know that that drugs are getting imported from China. The base cursor chemicals get imported in from China into Latin America. They get processed. They make their way out through various channels as well. So we've got to deal with this. And this whole line of like, these are just simple fishermen out trying to make a living. Give me a break. Do you know how much those Fastco engines are?
Yeah, you grew up on the water. I grew up on the water. I've seen a lot of big fancy boats with 4 or 5 outboards across the back with a couple thousand horsepower. I never went fishing out of one of those. Not one time. You?
No, the idea when you're fishing is to be quiet,
Right.
not to go as fast as you can and be undetected.
Yeah, I've never
So,
caught a fish trolling at 100 miles an hour. I'm just here to
yeah.
tell you. All right.
Well, and here's the other thing, Steve. There is a very strict criteria that Department of War, the Coast Guard, others are going through, and they're determining: is this like a law enforcement interdiction, or is this does this rise to the level of a military strike like this? And there's a whole series of boxes that need to be checked off from lawyers, different areas of the government. They all have to pass that. They have to know who is on that boat, maybe not by name, but they know the affiliation either directly or in material support of these designated terrorist organizations, these drug cartels.
I want to shift gears because I don't get to talk to you as much as I'd like to. We got a couple of minutes left here. Healthcare in America. Hot topic, it should be. Health savings accounts. Health associations where millions of people can get together and negotiate with Blue Cross, Blue Shield, or United Health. By the way, the Blue Cross, Blue Shield CEO last year took a pay cut. He only made $14.5 million. I think he's going to make it, but I'm a little worried. The point being is these insurance companies are getting rich because taxpayer dollars go directly to them. The Affordable Care Act has been a failure, has always been a failure. It's time for some new thinking. But do we need to have some sort of an extension of those enhanced subsidies in the interim? That's the question on Capitol Hill and the question to you.
Yeah, well, and the question is regarding these COVID era enhanced subsidies that the Democrats put in place without any Republican input, knowing that they would be expiring this year. And they had no plan. They didn't know what they were going to do other than declaring at the time, this is a temporary payment. Oh, by the way, not to the patient, but to the insurance company. And now Chuck Schumer is out there trying to want to have people like me fix his problem. And, to me, we've got to get to the root cause of why insurance and why healthcare specifically is less affordable for all Americans, not just the 7% of the people that access it through the Obamacare exchange. And, we in the House, in the Working Families Tax Cut, the quote unquote one big beautiful bill, we had a number of provisions that would have lowered premiums by over 12%. That's not me saying this. This is Office of Management and Budget. OMB's review said 12.4%. That got knocked out by the Senate.
Well, of course it did. And look, you said they didn't have a plan. I disagree with the Congressman. The plan, blame Republicans when it doesn't go right. They knew it wouldn't go right. They set the expiration dates just going into the midterms. That wasn't by accident. I have to leave it there for today. These are all good conversations that need to continue. I appreciate seeing you, my friend. And if I don't see you again, Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you, and good to be with you.
There it is, Congressman Bill Huizenga from Michigan's 4th Congressional District. He likes the drug war, so do I. He wants to fix health care, so do I. Let's put America first. I'll be right back. All right, it's cold and flu season. You know that. You hear it every year. The question I have, is it better to do health maintenance or is it better to take the vaccine or do something like that? It's an important question that people ask themselves this time of year. For me personally, I'm not taking the vaccine, all right? Dr. Kelly Victory's with me. She's the Chief of Disaster and Emergency Medicine at the Wellness Company. Doctor, nice to see you again.
Thanks, as always, for having me, Steve.
Does that make me a denier? I mean, I can live with it if it does, but look, I got led down the garden path with the COVID vaccines. I did the first two, got terribly ill, had vertigo so bad I had to get a prescription called Antivert. You've probably heard of it. You're a doctor. And I called my doctor and I said, wait a second. I've got to get prescription medication because I took the COVID jab. He said, apparently, good guy, by the way. But he's reading the computers like everybody else in his doctor's office. He trusts that what they're telling him is true. A lot of what they told him turned out not to be true, didn't it?
Right. Absolutely. And the reality, Steve, is it doesn't make you a denier of anything. The fact is we cannot vaccinate ourselves to good health. It really starts with the basics of maintaining overall wellness, taking care of your immune system. And the idea that we need a new vaccine for every virus or illness out there is simply ridiculous. We don't need all of these. Whether or not an individual chooses to take a flu shot, they should know that, number one, the flu shots are not particularly effective at stopping you from contracting influenza. In a really good year, it might be 50% effective. And in a bad year, it can be down in the teens. Furthermore, we have study after study that has shown that influenza vaccines and the COVID shots increase your chance of getting other respiratory infections. So I'm with you. I've been a physician for many decades. I've never taken a flu shot in my life. I've had influenza twice.
Well, you must be anti-science.
No, exactly. What I am aware is that I don't want to get the flu, but I know that my immune system will be able to fend it off. Furthermore, there are ways to treat influenza. It's not as if we are helpless should you come down with an upper respiratory infection.
Sure. And I mentioned COVID, right? Yeah, the pandemic and all the things we went through, the lockdowns and all that. But now, doctor, we've got a quademic on our hands, apparently. I've never even heard this word before. Maybe you have. But medical experts, so-called, are calling about a quademic. And can you tell me the difference between the viruses that make up a quademic? What does that even mean?
It's a made-up term, first of all, because the tridemic wasn't scary enough last year. So what they are calling this quademic is three respiratory viruses: influenza, COVID, and RSV. And then for good measure, they threw in norovirus, which is a gastrointestinal virus, not an upper respiratory virus at all. Now, each of them is a real virus. I'm not saying that they don't exist. And obviously, every year we have seasonal fluctuations in the incidence of those viruses. But again, in my world, the best thing you can do is focus on overall good health. Things like adequate sleep and eating well, regular exercise, and stress mitigation, those sorts of things. And then be aware that there are ways to treat influenza and COVID should you become particularly ill with it. Most people will sail right through those infections without needing to get any additional medical care. But we do have medications, including things like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin, Tamiflu, those sorts of things that are available should you become ill, with one of these.
By the way, those are all available right here in this kit that I'm holding in my hand. This comes from the Wellness Company. You have these emergency kits that are absolutely spectacular. We haven't talked about these in a while, but you mentioned all those. I'm thinking they're in here.
Yes.
The medical emergency kit from the Wellness Company. How about the perfect thing under the tree? Here it is. You don't get caught short. You don't have to go out to the pharmacy. You don't have to wonder if you've got the right medications. They're right in your hand.
Exactly. We have a contagion kit as well for upper respiratory infections, Steve, that includes a nebulizer for nebulized or aerosolized steroids if people become unduly ill with one of these. But again, I think this is a lot of fear mongering. The idea that certain areas of the country are now recommending masks again, of all things, as if we learned nothing during the COVID debacle. Unfortunately, masks simply do very, very little to stop the spread of respiratory viruses. You're really better off focusing on things like washing your hands and, as I said, overall good hygiene, health, and wellness, rather than putting on an unnecessary mask.
Yeah, I sure hope we're not going back to the days where they say, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do all of these things right now, or we're not going to let you in the store, we're not going to let you in the school.
Right.
I mean, I'm seeing this story right here from California. I mean, that's what it sounds like again. Just not just, hey, you should wear a mask if you'd like to, but you better do it or else. I can't stand that.
Yeah, because it was all really a big power grab in the first place. It was about control. It had nothing to do with the science. As I said, not only are masks ineffective to stop the spread of respiratory viruses, but the insanity of, quote, social distancing, a completely made up construct, as if standing 6 feet away from someone is going to stop the aerosolization of a respiratory virus. It really made no sense at all, but it was very useful. It was politically expedient. It allowed them to gain a lot of control and really command where people could go, where they could travel, if they could work, if they could attend social functions. It had nothing to do with science.
Yeah, you know, and I can't say enough. Again, I've got these kits here. They're always sitting here from the wellness company. I got the medical emergency kit, the first aid kit, which, by the way, yes, I've used a number of times. It is the most comprehensive emergency kit I've ever used, and these are all available at the wellness company. Doctor, I greatly appreciate you being here because, you know, keeping out of harm's way is step one. Take care of your good health now, and then you don't have to deal with these things later.
Right.
But do the smart thing. Dr. Kelly Victory, thank you so much.
Thanks very much for having me, Steve.
All right, the wellness company, and again, these kits, and man, they've got lots of them. They've got travel kits, kits for kids. They've got the standard original, the medical emergency kit, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, all sorts of great things that you're not going to get in a crunch. Go to twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber. You'll save 10%, and plus, you can put good health under the tree this year. Pretty good idea. I'll be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Christina Paxson is the president of Brown University, a university that has completely failed its students when it comes to safety, as evidenced by the mass shooting that left 2 students dead, 9 others wounded and hospitalized. Instead of blaming the perpetrator, the president of this university this week, Christina Paxson, she blamed gun violence. Not a terrorist, not a criminal, gun violence. These are the people that educate our kids. Never miss a chance to blame guns. Even though you lack security cameras, which is why we don't have a suspect, you lacked locking doors that required a key card pass to get in. You lack basic security for your students, and you want to blame guns. It's the guns' fault. This university is going to be sued into oblivion for failing to protect students. In a world where such violence, sadly, is predictable. You see violence in this country in places like this, it's predictable. Did they learn nothing from Michigan State University's failure to secure buildings, allowing a gunman to get inside with no pass key? But Brown has dropped the ball worse. Where are the cameras? Where's the video? Where are the good pictures of the suspect? Brown claims they have over 800 cameras on campus, but magically none of them happen to be there because they did renovations in that building? I would say the failure here, not including the violent criminal himself, but the failing here is with the university. Failing to take proper security steps to protect its students and its faculty and its staff. That's my take on it. No suspect. It's been days now. That suspect could be anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. Who knows? Coming up in the next hour, Congressman Jack Bergman will be here discussing fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. And we'll talk about people that have died in his district from the poisoning from these street drugs. It's all coming up on the Steve Gruber Show. We'll talk about it then. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And welcome to it as we kick off another brand new hour here of the program, fighting for you from this great foxhole of freedom, putting America first, making sure America is front of the line and not in the back somewhere paying the bill for everybody else. Glad to have you here for the conversation. Three big things this hour. Number one, the manhunt for the killer at Brown University continuing, and by all accounts, law enforcement has very little to work with. That has people in Providence, Rhode Island still on edge. Number two, Speaker Mike Johnson was able to deliver a credible alternative to Obamacare for the first time. And the House was able to overcome a few Republicans that did not join the vote and passed the measure. The question is what happens in the Senate. And number three, President Trump once again ratcheting up the pressure on Venezuela. Something he mentioned during his primetime speech to the nation last night from the White House, which was much more like a campaign speech. It is the first volley of the 2026 midterms. The president laying out his accomplishments and laying a plan and a path forward. Now, as far as Venezuela goes, it's the latest move to put pressure on that nation, one he designated as a foreign terrorist organization, and said he will implement a complete blockade of illegal oil tankers moving crude on what are called ghost ships. You see, they load millions of barrels of oil on these ships. They put a flag of some country on it that's not accurate, not real. They change those flags from time to time. Panama did this a lot in the years past and was stopped. So they'll take a ship like the Skipper. That's the one we confiscated a few days ago. It had 1.8 million barrels of oil on board. And then they'll steam out of port. And then somewhere along the line, they'll download and offload millions of those barrels onto another ship, change the flags on those ships. It's called ghost ships. And, of course, more drug boats have also been destroyed in recent days. It's a hot-button issue. Very few Democrats support it, but at least there is one Democrat who says, what are you talking about? Of course I support that. John Fetterman made it clear he supports the attack on drug-running boats, this after sitting for a classified briefing on the attacks on Capitol Hill just yesterday. Listen.
This idea, some things out in the media, it's kind of putting out this, that the military is just picking off, any boat that comes across. That's just not true. I mean, there's extensive intelligence, and they know exactly who's on that boat, and they know what's actually on that boat right now. And it's quite frequently they decline to take it and to move on those things. When they move on those kinetic kinds of strikes, they have absolute confidence that who's on it and what's on it, and that's exactly what it's about. They're not just going around randomly just shooting boats and those things. That's just not the fact.
Yeah, just not the fact. So a bunch of Democrats came out of this classified briefing spewing nonsense. Senator John Kennedy was in the same briefing with Senator Fetterman. Same briefing. He called out the Democrats for flat out lying about the attacks. Here he is.
Here's what I took away from it. These military strikes against narco-terrorists carrying drugs and boats to the United States are legal. They're effective. Traffic is way down. The intelligence on which they are based is exquisitely good. There are checks and balances at every stage to make sure that innocent people who just happen to be in a boat are not hurt.
Yeah, there you have it. On the congressional side, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, following a briefing, another intel briefing just like that, repeated that the attacks on the cartel drug boats is fully legal. It's not even in question to him. Listen to this.
Hey, everybody. Tim Burchett, just leaving the briefing with Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Rubio and military leaders about the legality of these strikes on these drug dealers that are pumping poison into our streets. I was glad to hear it's actually a three-tier system. Can't go into all the details, but every step of the way, there's lawyers making sure that what they're doing is legal. What the press isn't reporting is that there's several of these have just been introductions where they just seized the boats and the drugs and nobody got killed because one of those three areas was not did not fulfill that, so they just had to stop them. And guess what? Every one of them, they were carrying drugs, but they couldn't prove that they were part of a terrorist organization or otherwise. So I'm very very pleased. Oddly enough, I think they've killed it's less than 100 drug dealers or pushers or whatever you want to call them. In that, it's about averages. It seems like about a little over 3 people per strike, and in that time, I just can't imagine the thousands of people that have lost their lives or had to get Narcan and go back. But anyway, thank y'all for sitting here.
Yeah, there you go. Look, that's the correct takeaway. They listened to Rubio. They listened to Hegseth. They have the evidence. They know they've got the classified intel. They know it. But Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, the same guy who's trying to undermine military chain of command and tell people, oh, don't follow orders if you think they're illegal. He says, well, these boats, it's just cocaine. Well, it's just cocaine. Here he is.
These boats carry not fentanyl. I mean, they carry cocaine and these routes mostly take drugs to Europe and Western Africa. These operations are not making us more safe.
You know what? Let me tell you something about those boats right there. Those boats are not going across the open ocean to Africa or anywhere else. They're staying in the Western Hemisphere. Those boats are not going across the open ocean. What an idiot. Senator Mark Warner, another Democrat, Trump hater, forced to admit in this interview the boats being targeted are narco-terrorist boats. Here are the receipts. Listen.
This certainly was a distraction to the boat strikes, the second strike in particular with the survivor. Let me ask you first to clarify. Do you think the strikes on those suspected drug boats are actually drug boats? You're on the Intelligence Committee. I know you've seen intelligence. Are you confident those are actually drug boats?
I'm confident the majority of these boats have drugs on them. They knew the 11 individuals on the strike on September 2nd. They don't know all of the individuals on many of the other boats. And what I worry about is this legal opinion, which really seems to stretch, I don't think passes the smell test, saying somehow having drugs on these boats is the equivalent of, say, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard having bombs and weapons.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, there's drugs on those boats. Yep, there's drugs. But that's okay. Only a few Americans will die. What's wrong with these people? I mean, honestly, what is wrong with these people? Coming up, we're going to talk about great breakthroughs in AI, big tech, and drugs, rewriting American medicine, plus that new bill that got through the House yesterday, even with some Republican dissenters, didn't matter. It got through. Healthcare is going to be repaired in this nation. We'll talk about it coming up. Look, I'm going to say this on the record because I think people don't hear this message very often. But I truly believe America has the best health care in the world. The question is whether or not you can get access to it, right? That's the real question. That's the battle going on politically over Obamacare or a replacement system using health savings accounts and so forth. How do people get access to it? Because people from foreign countries come here for procedures routinely because it's better medicine in America if you can get access. Joining me is Dr. Marshall Runge, former CEO of Michigan Medicine and the former dean of the University of Michigan Medical School and a practicing cardiologist. Doctor, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Steve. I'll say, we're pretty much done with the interview. You hit the high points.
Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, we have the best health care in the world. It's just a matter of whether you can get access to it. Is that not true?
That is absolutely true. There's no place in the world I'd rather be if I had a complex medical problem, but trying to get in there, getting in the door is tough.
Yeah, and here's the thing. No, I'm not taking issue with any other hospital in my state or in my region, but I will tell you this. If I am greatly ill or greatly injured, there are only two hospitals I want to find myself in. One is the University of Michigan, and the second is the Cleveland Clinic. That's my personal preference, right? That's me. But there's been a great disruption in healthcare. Now, we've got all these political battles going on. We're not going to touch on that too much today, but we're going to talk about AI, big tech, breakthrough drugs, rewriting American medicine as we sit here. All those things are true, aren't they?
Yes. And, when I selected the title for that book, I meant disruption in a positive way. I think some of these things can really help us with things like access and other important issues in healthcare that we don't deal with as well.
Yeah, when I look at AI, I mean, there's a lot of things about AI that make me uneasy. But when it comes to medicine, and you take a series of symptoms and apply them and let the AI go through the myriad of possibilities and potential, answers to the question, because medical questions are often complex and not easy to arrive. But that's a place that AI can help diagnose a patient that may be more complicated than somebody else. Is that one of the applications you're looking at?
Yes, I'd say that's one of the, it's both in play in some ways and an area that has great opportunity that we really haven't reached. And what I mean by that is, I think and I know I use AI frequently, but for physicians and also people seeking help in their healthcare, AI is phenomenal. And I have checked it many times myself because I have to do some of this continuing medical education. So sometimes I look, it's very accurate. It's not perfect, but it's very accurate. I think it's actually the best thing that somebody can use online. Medscape is good. UpToDate is good. There are other medical sources, but the AI is fast.
Yeah.
It's accurate.
Let me give an example. Let me give an example that as a layman I've heard about, and that is for the anesthesiologist. When they're applying the medication to the patient for surgery or whatever it might be, the AI can sit there and monitor constantly the level of drugs that are going into the system, make sure the patient's vital signs remain where they belong, and can issue a warning if something's off by a little bit, helping the anesthesiologist make sure that the patient comes through with flying colors. That's one application, isn't it?
Yeah, you're on the inside here, Steve. That is a great application because, and we've done a study, and our anesthesiology group has done a study with other doctors, including the Cleveland Clinic, and what they found was that AI could make adjustments. So you get a medication, your blood pressure goes up a little bit or down a little bit. It's faster and better. It needs to be overseen than the typical person sitting there. So that's a great application.
All right. How about this advancement? My daughter works for a company in Atlanta, Georgia called Intuitive Surgical. Intuitive Surgical, for anybody who doesn't know, makes all these robotic arms to do things like gallbladder surgeries or whatever it might be. And so you've got this advancement in robotics paired with AI, doing remarkable things where doctors on the other side of the planet can conduct a surgery here in the United States. It's remarkable technology. Intuitive Surgical on the cutting edge of that, no pun intended. But these are other advancements that are just mind-blowing, aren't they?
Yes, and that's a really good point about robotic surgery. It's been around for 20, 25 years, but now being able to pair it with AI in the way you described, it's much more powerful. And there's some things that robots do better than humans. very micro manipulations, etc.
Yeah. On a base level, I want one of these robots that Elon builds just to feed the dogs and vacuum the house, but that's a different application. Anyhow,
I have no relationship with Intuit, but I'll tell you that they're a great company.
yeah, they are a great company, remarkable place. Where do you see medicine 5 years from now? Look, I believe the world's going to change more in the next 10 years than it has in the previous 10,000. And that's saying a lot because we've changed a lot in the last 10 years, but as AI rolls out into every device we have, into applications in business, in medicine, it's all going to continue to evolve very rapidly, isn't it?
It is blinding speed, and I think that in the next 5 years, I think it's going to be really different next year to 5 years from now. I think 5 years we'll understand where AI really works well and where it doesn't. Last time I looked, there were 200 startups in AI and healthcare. Now, those maybe 5 will make it. We don't know which 5, but I think once we sort that out, it will improve care. It'll dramatically improve access, and I think it'll improve health. I mean, that's the bottom line. We want to improve health. And there is another example of AI that you may be familiar with called ambient AI, which AI helps any care provider by recording a session with a patient with permission, and it formats it into a great medical note that needs to be checked because they're not always right, but saves doctors 2 or 3 hours a day.
Right. Unfortunately, doctors today spend more time filling out paperwork required by the government than actually seeing patients, but that's a discussion for a different day, and probably a way that we should not spend our time for trained doctors when we have a shortage of doctors in this country. The book, The Great Healthcare Disruption, the author, Dr. Marshall Runge. Doctor, great conversation. You come back anytime.
Thanks so much, Steve. Great to see you, and happy holidays to you and yours.
Merry Christmas, my friend. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. There you have it. Look, AI can be applied for great things or maybe not so great things. This is one of the places that can really help. Good conversation. I'll be right back. How about some economic news for you? Gas down again today. Continues to come down. It's cheaper than it was a week ago, a month ago, and a year ago. Gas, the average, I paid $2.75 the other day. Now the average in Michigan is $2.78 here where I live. Some of the cheaper places, Delta County, Escanaba, $2.41 is the average. Which means soon we're going to see gas. If this continues, it won't just be Oklahoma and Texas, but other states will see gas at $1.99. $1.99. When you're filling a full-size pickup truck or a Suburban like we do, man, that helps a lot. It helps everybody. Meanwhile, General Motors putting $242 million to rebuild its skilled trades workforce. They're not saying back and say, hey, we need skilled trades. They're investing in it to keep the country's critical infrastructure up and running and fueling the economy. Over the past 5 years, the automakers invested more than $242 million in skilled trades apprenticeship programs geared toward training the next generation of skilled trade professionals with a combination of classroom instruction and thousands of hours of hands-on experience at GM facilities. I mean, this is remarkable. Apprentices go through 672 hours of related tech instruction in a classroom and almost 8,000 hours on-the-job training with an assigned qualified skilled tradesperson. As Mike Rowe has been saying for years now, there are certain things that we just talked about. There's certain things that AI can replace and certain things it cannot. AI is not going to put a roof on my house. AI is not going to build my house from the ground up. AI is not going to come fix my toilet at midnight if it's backed up and Ivy's upset. Look, I didn't do it, but it's broken. So these things are important. Skilled trades are important. Electricians, carpenters, plumbers, HVAC folks. You know, AI is not going to come put in your heat runs, all right? They're not going to put in the forced air ductwork. They're not doing that. Same thing at General Motors. It takes skilled trade to do some of these jobs, and AI is not going to replace them. Maybe going to college isn't the best idea for all kids. Maybe some kids should get their hands dirty and make a big living doing it. Something to consider, right? Something to consider. When I come back, Congressman Jack Bergman will be here from Michigan's 1st Congressional District. We're going to talk about the scourge of fentanyl and drug poisoning in America. I'll be right back. It has been a very busy December, to say the least, in politics around this country. Most recently, President Trump declared the Venezuelan regime as a foreign terrorist organization, implementing a blockade of these ghost ships that routinely ship out illicit oil to places like Russia, Iran, China, and elsewhere at cut rates. And then they use that money to fund drug running operations, money laundering, and a whole lot of other fraudulent behavior. Joining me now is Congressman Jack Bergman from Michigan's 1st Congressional District. He's a retired United States Marine Corps Lieutenant General and serving from, like I said, Michigan's northern reaches. General, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Steve. And just so you know, let's get the important thing on the table. There is no truth to the rumor that Santa's North Pole is actually located in the UP.
You would wonder this year. I hear snow's up to the doors in Ironwood already. We've gotten a tremendous amount of snow here. It's going to be a white Christmas, that's for sure. All right, let's talk about the serious stuff. A foreign terrorist organization. This comes in the aftermath of seizing a ship, the Skipper. It had 1.8 million barrels of oil worth maybe $100 million seized by the United States. The United States also taking out these drug boats, all these drug boats, and the left screaming loudly. Look, there is a city in your district. It's called Rapid River, just north of Escanaba. You're probably familiar with it. 335 people, 5 have died in the last year or so from fentanyl poisoning. When people think that it doesn't impact real Americans, they're really missing the boat, aren't they?
Well, pun intended with the boat. They are missing the point that, especially fentanyl, as it's compared to other drugs, cocaine, marijuana, pick your other, illegal drug. The amount of fentanyl that can kill someone is so infinitesimally small that it's hard to detect it. So the narco-terrorists make their money, and in conjunction with Chinese, who do create the fentanyl, get it over to Central America somewhere, or South America, or somewhere in that area, and then the components of it that are processed and then shipped to the U.S. on the narco boats. It's been an operation that's been building over decades. In fact,
it is.
I was dealing with that.
But I'm concerned that the people on the other side of the aisle are more worried about the guy driving the drug running boat and the drug dealers than they are people dying in your district, like in places like Rapid River, Michigan. That's what concerns me. Their priorities are all wrong. Maybe they should talk to the mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers who are going to funerals today in Michigan and around this country for those that died from this scourge of drugs. Shouldn't that be the priority?
Well, it should be the priority. And let's face it, we're talking about health care and better health and keeping people off of drugs and keeping people out of morgues because they overdosed. The Democrats created the unaffordable health care plan, Obamacare. They created it. And now they're trying to blame the Republicans for creating it. We're trying to fix it and get our healthcare system, the amount of illicit drugs coming into our country. As one of my colleagues on the left said a couple of weeks ago, well, it's only cocaine.
Yeah, it's only cocaine. I had a friend lose his 19-year-old college son last year. He went out on a weekend, smoked a joint, didn't think much of it. It was laced with fentanyl, the cocaine, the fake pharmaceutical prescription drugs, the marijuana. It gets laced with just a little bit of fentanyl, and it's party over. The kid did something that he certainly didn't think was going to kill him, and there it is, another funeral being held. Speaking of these boats being blown out of the water and the Democrats screaming about it, the 1986 Maritime Drug Law Enforcement Act, you may know this, was written by a congressman at the time by the name of Chuck Schumer. He authored the legislation that made it legal to blow these boats out of the water, which we did routinely in the 80s and 90s. Nothing's new here, except that they don't like the administration in Washington. That's the only difference. Or maybe they like drug dealers. Which is it?
Well, I would say the malady of Trump derangement syndrome is only growing across the country. And we've got our Democrat colleagues who just will not face the truth, the reality of what our role here in Congress is to ensure we've got a strong legislative branch, but a strong executive branch to do exactly what President Trump is doing in keeping Americans safe. It's not only about the safety and the security, it's about the economic viability of what we're doing here in Congress that the Democrats don't like, because we're literally eliminating some of their pet projects that siphon money, taxpayers' money from the government, but don't provide returns for the American taxpayers who provide
Right.
that money in the front end. It's just morally wrong.
And speaking of taking money from taxpayers, giving them little in return, let's stick with that health care idea you mentioned a moment ago. Look, the Affordable Care Act has been an abject failure. I think it was by design. I don't think they ever intended to work. But here you are. The Democrats set a deadline for the expiration of these enhanced subsidies. They did that. I think they did that looking forward to the midterm elections. It's all an attempt to blame you and other Republicans when it's a failure. But health savings accounts, great idea. Health associations where millions of people could get together and negotiate with United Health or Blue Cross and Blue Shield. These are good ideas. Now, the question to you is this. Do you extend the subsidies for some period of time while you rebuild a healthcare system that works for the majority of America and not just the few?
I tell you what, if they could figure out which subsidies that should be extended, I would consider. But to do a blanket extension of the subsidies, the answer is no. Because right now, the insurance companies are controlling everything. They're getting all the money. People who apply and are eligible for healthcare plan subsidies don't even use the healthcare system. The money goes right to the insurance companies.
That's right.
So this scam that's being perpetrated by the Democrats, if we could just reduce the fraud, let alone the abuse and the waste, but the fraud in the system, the way it's currently set up, our delivery of healthcare to the people who need it, number one, it's not going to change. It's the fraudsters and the people who don't rate a subsidy because they make a whole ton of money. They don't need it.
Yeah, we need to save people money and give them better care, especially in rural places like your district. A lot of rural places there. Speaking of that, the cheapest gas in Michigan right now can be found in Delta County, Michigan. $2.39 a gallon is the average. That's good news for working people, isn't it?
Well, it is good news. What President Trump said is what he's going to do is again, working family tax cuts. That one big beautiful bill was not well named, but this is for working families. And what we're going to see come 6 months from now, when people file their tax returns, they're going to see that they've got more money in their pocket. In 2018, we didn't act fast enough in 2017 with the TCJA, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Right.
We acted this time early in the second Trump administration, so that taxpayer will feel that difference 3 months from now.
You know, not everybody's entitled to a white Christmas, Jack, but where you live, you are. And I'm sure you'll have a wonderful white Christmas. I appreciate you coming here, so enjoy the snow. I'm hoping you're home for Christmas, and if you are, Merry Christmas, my friend.
I will. Merry Christmas. And snow for us in the UP and Northern Lower it's green because the people come to recreate. They ski, they snowmobile, they ice fish. So we want the snow.
Absolutely. The ski resorts are having a bang-up season. We're at 250% down here around Lansing of snowfall for the season already. It's snowing everywhere. Congressman Jack Bergman, always a pleasure.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We'll take a break and be right back. All right, here we go, jumping right back into it. Looking at the economy, what's good, what's bad, how can we do better? David McIntosh, an attorney, former congressman from Iowa, too. The founder of the Federalist Society and Club for Growth. David, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be with you.
Good to have you there. Now, I see some signs in the economy that things in some sectors are getting better, but when it comes to employment numbers, unemployment's at about 4.6%. Now, I was taught in school that 4% is basically full employment because there's always flux in the employment markets, but 4.6, not really what we want to see, is it?
No, we want to see even more jobs created. And as President Trump said last night, America's coming out of a near disaster on the economy during the Biden years, where prices went up, depending on what it was, 30, 50% for housing, for cost of living. And the president's turned that around. But another feature in his big, beautiful bill is that we created a tax incentive for people to relocate, bring jobs back to the U.S., and then get 100% expensing off of their taxes when they do that. Huge incentive that's going to kick into place next year, and that will help us create even more jobs to lower that unemployment rate.
Yeah, let's see. Inflation's at 3% or below. Gas prices continue to come down. Those are positive signs. But when it comes to jobs, job growth, wage growth is pretty good, 3.5% increase in November. But it takes a long time to come back from 9.1% inflation. Over the 4 years of the Biden administration, collectively, inflation across the board was plus 20%, just over. I mean, that's a tough number to get past, isn't it?
It is, and it's now baked into the prices. So what we have to do is create those jobs. And as you just pointed out, Steve, increase real wages faster than inflation. That'll let people catch back up. But there are some areas where we can do some actual real policy changes that will lower the costs, make things more affordable. Healthcare, for example, has gone up more than doubled since Obamacare was put into place. And if we put price transparency into there, what I'm told by the experts is you can cut out a third to maybe even 40% of the cost of health insurance, because the health companies, the hospitals, the providers will have to show what they're charging and give everybody the lowest rate. They'll also have to show the claims data, which typically the insurance industry will inflate 1, 2, 3 times what the true cost is when they bill you for their insurance policy. So price transparency, SHAs, housing, we need to get rid of local regulations that are NIMBY, don't build new houses in my backyard. Well, that makes it impossible for a young couple to get a starter home. And energy, the president's leading on. Permitting reform, we need that so you can bring on new electricity, new oil and gas production, new nuclear production, and that'll lower gas costs even more, but lower the cost of electricity, important for everything we do. And then I hear the president's also looking at getting rid of unnecessary tariffs on food so that we can reduce the cost of going to the grocery store.
Let me ask you about tariffs.
Those are 4 areas where we can make a difference for people in their bottom line budget.
Yeah, and on the tariffs, to listen to the other side, tariffs were going to bankrupt the country, destroy the economy. That's certainly not the case. It is pushing people to come back and reshore jobs, as you mentioned. It is creating $200 billion, I just saw here, that's coming back from just one sector. A lot of money coming back in. Maybe it'll turn into $2,000 checks for people at a certain income level or below. But the tariffs have been a great piece of leverage for this White House, it seems to me, to get better trade deals with countries all over the world. Am I missing something?
The president's used it very skillfully, and in particular against our adversary in China, to force them to come to the table. But we got to remember that Americans pay those tariffs, and that can be baked into the prices. So we've got to be really careful. I like the idea they're looking at is, okay, maybe on food products, we need to be careful, lower those so that we don't ruin our ag economy across the country. It's a difficult, tricky position, and President Trump's been really careful to use it for negotiations.
Is it fair to say that it takes more than 11 months to fix the problems created in the 4 years of the Biden administration? Look, those were not pro-growth policies. Those were Green New Deal nonsense and pie in the sky nonsense, and they were stepping on energy production, and they were stepping on a lot of things. They produced money at a rate we've never seen before, creating inflation. This idea that tariffs create inflation is false. Government spending and the creation of money creates inflation. I mean, Milton Friedman taught me that. It's pretty basic stuff, isn't it?
And one of the things the administration did was rip out all those Green New Deal subsidies, which were costing us trillions of dollars. That'll reduce that government spending, reduce the deficit, and help create less pressure for inflation.
Well, you pointed out something, David. You point out something that's really important, which is if your business plan is to collect taxpayer dollars in the form of EV subsidies or health insurance companies for health care, that's not a business plan. That's fleecing the American taxpayer. Right or wrong?
Right. You're exactly right, Steve. And Republicans need to step up and say, we have a better idea for how to make life more affordable. We're not going to let the insurance companies fleece you anymore. We're not going to subsidize all these businesses. They're going to have to compete. We're going to remove the red tape, the permits, the regulations so people can build their businesses and give you cheaper products.
Yeah, and we're getting there. A plan has gotten the health care bill through the House, happened yesterday, even with a handful of Republicans saying no. It got through. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, got it through. Health savings accounts, health associations. There are better plans on the way. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I think it's key that Republicans stand up and say, we have a solution. Biden created this horrible mess, 20% inflation overall, some places like housing, 40, 50%. Republicans are going to step up and make life more affordable by using free markets, competition, less regulation, less government, so that you can do your business, you can earn great money, and the government's not going to come and fleece you and let insurance companies fleece you or other people fleece you with the government power.
David McIntosh, greatly appreciate you being here, sir. Thank you so much.
Great to be with you, Steve. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. What do I want for Christmas? A better economy in 2026. I think we're on the road. When we come back, we're on the road to hearing sports with Brock, so don't go anywhere. All right, well, it's time to check in on sports with Brock Palmbush. Brock?
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. There were just 2 games in the NBA last night. Chicago thumped Cleveland 127-111, and Memphis won at Minnesota 116-110. In the NHL, there were 5 games. Winners were Florida, New Jersey, Carolina, Utah, and St. Louis. 2 college football bowl games last night at the Staff DNA Cure Bowl in Orlando, Florida. Old Dominion beat South Florida 24-10. The Monarchs rushed for 255 yards as a team, while holding South Florida to just 52 yards as a team. And in the 68 Ventures Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, Delaware knocked off Louisiana Lafayette 20-13. In top 25 men's college basketball last night, winners were 7th-ranked Gonzaga, 13th-ranked Vanderbilt, 16th-ranked Alabama, and 23rd-ranked Florida. In top 25 women's basketball, number 1 Connecticut and number 2 Texas both won easily. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, the Sharon Moore saga continues, Brock. News stories, a bunch of them yesterday. Sharon Moore headline, dumped by staff for 2 days before alleged knife attack, and his bleary-eyed mugshots are now released. He does not look good in these mugshots.
Nope. No, he doesn't.
Do we have a coach on the way?
What was it that Biff Poggi told the media the other day? He said they hope to have one by the end of the year. Well, they play their bowl game on New Year's Eve, so I don't know what's going to happen. I think it is a possibility that Biff Poggi could be a short-term replacement for next season while Michigan figures out what they want to do with school president and with athletic director. Because do you really want Ward Manuel to make the...
I can't even believe he's still there.
I know, you said that last week. I'm a little surprised. The Board of Regents met, last week ago today and didn't fire him then, so...
Yeah, well, they missed an opportunity. He should be gone. This happened on his watch. That's the way the world works. And
all the
apparently,
controversies that have happened under his watch, you can certainly make that case.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Michigan basketball still continues to rock the world. So you got that going for you. I guess Michigan will just be a basketball school.
Well, women's basketball's in the top 10. You know softball's in the spring's going to be really good. So.
Always. Yeah. All right, I got to leave it there. We're going to take a break. We'll be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Thank you, Brock. Back after this. something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And welcome to it, my friends. It is the Steve Gruber Show, blowing into another big hour, lighting the fuse. It's going to be explosive. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom as we do every single day. Defending America, putting America first. It's who we are, all right? Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, a federal judge has blocked Governor Whitmer of Michigan from stopping Line 5. It's that energy pipeline under the Straits of Mackinac. A federal judge says, yeah, that's not up to you. Number two, Donald Trump dropped receipts on U.S. savings since Biden's Oval Office exit. He laid out his plan and vision for 2026. Looks like the economy could be on the move in 26, well before the midterms, and that'll be a big deal. And number three, speaking of savings and how we function as a society, Speaker Mike Johnson was able to get through a health care bill yesterday in the House. It's a big deal. It passed the House. It will lower the cost of health care for millions of Americans by more than 10%, maybe 11%, maybe 12%. It'll be a decrease, a victory for Mike Johnson, who's been managing deep divisions within the Republican Party, by the way. The Obamacare subsidy is still a glaring issue out there. It affects about 7% of Americans. You see, Obamacare is a failure. Always has been, always will be, because all it is a grift on American taxpayers. Tell you what, we're going to give you health care, but you guys pay. Half of the people on Obamacare, right? Half of the people on Obamacare last year didn't use their health care. Half didn't use it at all. And yet, the insurance companies got paid their subsidies. Does that make any sense to you or anybody else paying taxes? No, of course not. But that was the whole grift from the beginning. Give the insurance companies billions of dollars, pad their bottom line, and make sure that when it comes election time, those insurance companies line up behind the Democrats and say, oh, let me contribute to your campaign. Here's a little bit for you, a little bit for you, a little bit for you. In effect, it's a money laundering scheme. So the legislation passed 216-211. Thomas Massey voted against it with all House Democrats as well. It comes after hours of moderate Republicans joining the Democrat-led discharge petition to force a vote on extending the subsidies for another 3 years. A discharge petition is a mechanism for overriding the will of House leaders to get a chamber-wide vote on specific legislation, provided it has support from a majority of the lawmakers. Now, we'll see where this is going to go. But Republicans, at least, are putting forth a plan that might actually work for Americans, one that doesn't enrich insurance companies blindly, that doesn't send your tax dollars straight to the insurance company and then turn around and cover you. You know, 20% of that money comes right off the top straight to insurance companies. Their profits have gone up 1,000% in the last decade. 1,000%. The CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield was compensated $14.5 million last year, a pay cut from the previous year when he made almost $16 million. I'm sure he'll struggle through. Giving American taxpayer dollars directly to EV manufacturers or insurance companies or anybody else is an abuse of power. It's the wrong thing to do. In fact, here's Speaker Johnson talking about an overhaul of health care in America to get more benefits to more Americans for less money. Here's what he said before the vote.
Health care premiums for all Americans Act, which will be on the floor tomorrow, is the first big step in that regard. As has been noted about Dr. Miller-Meeks and the other leaders here, it offers common sense solutions to lower premium cost for everybody, all Americans. It expands access to quality care. It provides every American with more options and flexibility to choose coverage that works for them, and it brings greater transparency to America's healthcare system. And here's how. The bill has 5 key reforms. I'll just reiterate some of this real quickly. It reduces premium cost through cost-sharing reduction payments. It brings pharmacy benefit manager transparency and removes the hidden cost of prescription drugs. It allows small business owners and independent workers to form association health plans. It provides more choice for employees to customize their health care plans, and it protects small businesses from costly regulatory overreach. According to the latest CBO projection, Republicans' cost-sharing reduction payments, just that provision alone, would reduce premiums by at least 11% and will save taxpayers tens of billions of dollars, about $30 billion.
And it got through. It got through. Also, Congressman Jason Smith, one of the smartest guys in Congress. He is. And here he just obliterates the Democrats on the claim that Republicans are taking away Obamacare subsidies. Republicans didn't vote for the so-called enhanced subsidies, which was more free money during COVID. Republicans didn't vote for Obamacare, not one. Not one. So here we are looking at a mess created by Democrats, and now the Democrats are blaming the Republicans. I mean, it's pretty predictable, isn't it? Jason Smith carpet bombed the idea that it's Republicans taking away these subsidies in any fashion, ones that they never supported. Listen.
It is unacceptable that people are not being honest and not being honest with the American people, because whenever you say that Republicans removed the subsidies, that's a complete lie. It's not false, it's a lie, because those subsidies were created solely by Democrats, and they chose to make them temporary in the American Rescue Plan and in the Inflation Reduction Act. They set the sunset for the end of this month. You know why they set the sunset for the end of this month? Is because they spent all their money making permanent environmental tax benefits for their wealthy donors instead of the American people, and that is just a fact, Madam Chair.
And that is just a fact. There are concerns, and here's an example. 90% of the money spent by insurance companies and those that run those insurance companies, their CEOs, their presidents, 90% of their donations to political campaigns go to Democrats. Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Why do 90% of their donations go to Democrats? You know, Tom Barrett, my good friend, my congressman here in Michigan, said he couldn't even get a call back from people at Blue Cross and Blue Shield when he was running for his seat. Couldn't get a call back. People that he'd known for years and dealt with and talked to and was friendly with. He was completely iced out until he won the election. Suddenly they started calling him. He says, oh, we're friends now? They donated heavily to his opponent. But when he won, oh, well then, hey, Tom, let's get together. Let's have coffee. Let's talk. Fact of the matter is, it's rigged. The healthcare system is rigged in favor of the insurance companies and against you, the taxpayer. It is a mess. There's going to be some pain involved. Because in order to fix the system, you have to tear this system down and build a new one. And when you raise the old one and create a new one, there's going to be some hiccups along the way. That's a fact. But it has to be done because Obamacare has failed. It will continue to fail. And unless we want enhanced subsidies and double enhanced subsidies and triple enhanced subsidies going forward, we have to fix what's broken. And my friends, it is broken. All right. We'll leave that there for now. Coming up after the break, Ralph Reband. He's running for governor here in Michigan. I want his reaction to the scandal growing around Attorney General Dana Nessel and Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. That's next. Well, if you missed it last night, Donald Trump officially kicked off the midterm election cycle from the White House with his speech. Powerful speech. By the way, he did not do the weave. He stayed on point. I bet Susie Wiles is thrilled with that. And the election cycle now getting into full swing as we are just about into 2026. Ralph Reban is a pastor at a Farmington Hills church, and he's running for governor as a Republican. Ralph, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Steve. Glad to be with you, sir.
Yeah, we were just discussing this growing scandal surrounding Dana Nessel and Jocelyn Benson. Jocelyn Benson running for governor on the Democrats' side, but her interactions with Dana Nessel to make charges and an investigation against Dana Nessel's husband disappear, I think is disqualifying for Jocelyn Benson. Could be worse for Dana Nessel. In fact, one of the Republicans sitting in and reading the emails said it is an impeachable offense what Dana Nessel has done. Just more corruption at the top of the administration of Gretchen Whitmer, and a lot of it, and it's getting bigger. In fact, it's getting national attention now. Your thoughts?
Well, when I first heard about this, it reminded me of the quote from John Adams that said, "Our Constitution is made for a moral and religious people. It's wholly inadequate for any other." And you can obviously see what's going on with the corruption here in Michigan, not only with the administrations, but with the budget, is just unconscionable. The interesting thing, and I'll just say this, over the last year, we've been noticing that the trio at the top are fighting against each other. Some of it hasn't been in public, but some of it has. And this is the stuff that will take down the Democrats in 2026.
Yeah. It is time to clean up our act here in Michigan. And the concerns that I have in Michigan are economic as they are a lot of places. First of all, Michigan was the only state in America last year to increase income taxes. There's a push by outside forces to more than double the income tax on those with a gross income of $500,000 as an individual, $1 million as a couple. A 5% surcharge would take the income tax from 4.25% to 9.25%. I guess they don't understand what an S corporation is, or an LLC, or other flow-through entities. This will destroy small business in Michigan. It's another attack on Michigan being a viable contender for jobs in industry. Indiana and Ohio are eating our lunch, Ralph. They are.
Yeah, it's one of those things that as you look at it, it's just, again, the bloated budget that the Democrats have put out. You know for a fact, when Whitmer took over, it was $59 billion. Now it's 84, and it will be climbing. And at the rate Michigan is going, we will be bankrupt, Steve, in 5 years.
I don't know if it'll take that long, Ralph. It could happen faster than that. The reckless behavior of this administration with our money. I mean, you look at states like Georgia, similar-sized state, they spend $30 billion less annually. North Carolina is 500,000 people larger than Michigan. They spend $19 billion less than Michigan. They have better infrastructure, better tax policy, better roads, better bridges, better everything. Where's our money going?
Well, it's going to the old familiar phrase that I think everybody's tired of hearing: waste, fraud, and abuse. But, you know, the point is, Steve, one of the reasons why I'm running is I have no ties to Lansing. They have no ties to me. And if you've ever seen the movie Dave, it's incredible where he's sitting around the table doing some budget discussions. And he's just bringing common sense to what's going on in the budget. Are you going to tell me that we need to tell people who've already purchased a car that they did a good job purchasing a car while the children go hungry? I mean, that's the ridiculous perspective that some people want to push because they get paybacks from the car companies. They help support their run for governor or their run for Congress, whatever it is, as you were just talking about Blue Cross Blue Shield. So my point is, we have to have somebody that comes in who's an outsider that can not just cut the budget, but actually slash the budget.
Yeah, we need a lower income tax in Michigan, not raise it. I support eliminating. I like this axmitax.org, by the way. Look it up if you like. I am fully in support of eliminating property tax in Michigan. They're doing it in other places like Florida. We need to help the Michigan resident, and we need to attract more business. We need to do that by being friendly on our tax policies, don't we?
Very true. You know, I've been a supporter of Axe My Tax since Carla brought it out a couple years ago. But the reality is, if that doesn't make it to the ballot, it's still on my my platform. I'm not going to let that go because it doesn't make sense to be a renter to the government for your whole life. I mean, you can pay off your house after 30 years and then fall into some medical issue where you can't afford your taxes, you lose your home, and you're now on the street. Or if your spouse dies and your Social Security gets cut in half and you can't afford your property taxes, you got to move, and that's not right. That you've paid for that house for 30 years, and you deserve to own it and live in it and die in it.
All right, give me a couple more things. I got about a minute left here, Ralph. Why should you be the next governor of Michigan?
Well, everybody's telling me that I'm not a ladder climber. I'm just I'm a problem solver. And so when I'm running for governor, I'm telling people that I am just looking to save the next generation. You know, Steve, we just talked about the budget. We could go into great detail about that and the things that I would do to cut it and slash it. But the reality is we have to do that for the next generation because Gen Zers are realizing that their future is on the line here. And I can't sit by and watch their future be torn apart. I've told them that my generation lived the American dream. Now, that's different for every person, but in my life, I've lived the American dream. And what I want them to do is to be able to do that too. And if we keep putting all that weight, that financial weight on their shoulders, whether it's at the national level with the the U.S. budget or whether it's here in Michigan with the bloated budgets, which, by the way, other candidates who are running have voted for bloated budgets.
On occasion, there's truth to that. We got to trim it back. I got to leave it there, Ralph, because we're up against a hard break. But tell folks before I let you go your website so they can find out more.
It's rebandforgovernor.com. And my last name spelled REBANDT for governor.com. Number 4, governor.com.
Ralph, I wish you well on the campaign trail. I am sure we will talk again, sir. Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
We will. Hey, Merry Christmas to you, Steve. Thank you for having me on, brother. Take care.
Of course. There you have it. Can you believe Christmas is like a week away now? Good Lord. Should I go Christmas shopping? Should I do that?
No, you got like 4 days still.
Oh, cool. That's cool. I'll be back. All right, I've done some Christmas shopping, which, for the record, is better than usual. I'll give you that. I'm a little ahead of schedule, despite what Anthony says. In fact, I think I already got Anthony a gift. We can't talk about it, but I got him a gift, right? Anthony, how's your Christmas shopping going?
Not good.
What do you mean not good? What's
I haven't done any.
None.
So, I'm doing basically a whole house remodel right now, Steve.
I know that.
I'm a Grinch this year.
That would explain the green skin color. I wonder what was up with that. So, who do you shop for? Mom, sister, girlfriend? Is that it, or are there other folks on your list?
Yeah, usually it's like the whole family, but I'm cutting back a little this year.
Yeah. What do you want for Christmas, Anthony? What's on your list? Ooh.
I don't know, actually.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Brock, are you done? Are you done shopping?
I am about 20% done, but I get everything done in one day. When I go Christmas shopping, I don't screw around. I get everything in one day.
You're a man on a mission.
Oh, yeah. I don't screw around.
Search and destroy.
Brock throws punches on Black Friday.
I do not.
He hit a 60-year-old woman this year, I heard.
That's not true.
Oh,
Not this year, anyway.
Not this year. That's good. Yeah, can you see? I got this vision for you, Anthony. Here's the the department store's packed, and Brock does the whole dive over the top of the stack to get to the next aisle.
It's all too real.
Man.
Oh Lord! Thank God Black Friday isn't what it used to be.
I'm trying to visualize myself doing that.
I can see it. Hey, he's diving over. He's grabbing for the TV. He's wrestling with an old woman on the floor. I love it. Thank God Black Friday isn't that anymore, right? Now it's supposed to be people going, Black Friday, no, I'm staying home. They tap their computer a few times, and then, the Amazon guy is in your driveway 27 times a day, like it is here. Anyhow, I'm going to ask Ivy about Christmas when she gets here in a bit. But first, we're going to talk about Ford writing off the Ford Lightning. The EV truck is no more. Ford taking a $20 billion write-off because the EV subsidies failed. Are you surprised? Me either. I'll be back. All right, so Ford has put the death warrant out for the Ford Lightning. It's the EV pickup truck, all done. Couldn't sell it. Nobody wanted it. Not enough, anyway. Wildly expensive to create. $20 billion loss. They're writing it off. And they're coming back with hybrids, they say. Jason Isaac is joining me to discuss this. Jason is the CEO of the American Energy Institute. Jason, nice to see you today.
Merry Christmas, Steve. Good to see you too. Don't put a Fort Lightning under the Christmas tree this winter. It might be a hazard.
It could be a fire hazard. Two things about what you just said. I know you said tongue in cheek, but here's the truth. Number one, if I park my diesel pickup truck in the garage and it's got a half a tank of fuel, and I leave it there for a week, and I come back, you know what it's got? Half a tank of fuel. I put an EV in my garage and don't plug it in, it's got half a charge. I come back in a week, it might have a third of a charge or less. Second thing is, my diesel pickup truck is not going to spontaneously burst into flames, where an EV, well, how many house fires have you seen? Jason, these are both true things, aren't they?
Yeah, safety is a big issue. Cost is a big issue. You talk about Ford writing down another nearly $20 billion in losses on EVs. It's over $35 billion in losses over the last 2 years. How the board is continuing.
Worked out well. Yeah, that really worked out well. Well, here's the thing, and I've said this a number of times, Jason. Look, getting taxpayers to pay your bills is not a business plan. It's a pipe dream. Because as soon as that changes, you don't have a business model, do you?
Yeah, the model changed because of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act zeroed out the penalties for the corporate average fuel economy. Now the president has started a new rule to reduce the corporate average fuel economy threshold, and the petroleum equivalency factor, which gave EVs this crazy over 750 miles per gallon credits. This is how Tesla was profitable last year, over $2 billion. The courts threw that out, said this is crazy false math. The petroleum equivalency factor has nothing to do with EVs, electric vehicles. So they threw that out. It's been a bad year for EVs because they are getting off of our pockets, if you will. The subsidies have gone away. The credits have gone away. The ability to sell these false credits has gone away. And so now the market is correcting. It's amazing what's happened in just 13 months. Last November, 2024, automakers, including Ford and GM, were begging the incoming Trump administration to keep forcing them to sell EVs. President Trump ran on getting rid of the EV mandate. He's delivered on that promise. And now what we should see is more affordable gasoline and diesel vehicles, because you wonder how Ford was still profitable, losing $35 billion. It's because they were increasing the cost of their gas and diesel vehicles.
Let me tell you something. So I looked at, Toyota has led the industry when it comes to hybrids and done a fine job of it, right? Because here in Michigan, when it's 5 degrees below zero in the dead of winter, I don't want an EV. I don't want to be stranded somewhere and have no way to, fuel up. Toyota's done a fine job, but I looked at something. The Toyota Tacoma, their mid-size pickup truck hybrid, gets less mileage than my 3-liter diesel Chevy Silverado, which, by the way, has a range of almost 600 miles when I fill it. Almost 600 miles on a tank. It's remarkable. I think Ford's going to be doing more of that, but General Motors apparently not getting the memo. Mary Barra, the CEO of GM, has chosen to double down on EVs. Do they not understand it's going nowhere?
Well, look at the history. They've gotten the government bailouts before, and they're just going to plan on that again. So I'm just shocked that some of these leaders are still in their positions. If they were college football coaches, they'd have been fired long ago. This is just absolutely incredible that they're keeping their jobs, losing $35 billion.
But as a college football coach, you get like 25, 30. If you're in Texas A&M, you get $75 million to walk away. But that's a different story. Jimbo Smith, excuse me.
Yes.
Anyhow, look, EVs. Look, I've ridden on a lot of Teslas. When you're in D.C., you get an Uber, Tesla. I think they're a great car. They're, technically speaking, they're remarkable. The screen shows you every person, every bike, every car, every house. And maybe if I lived in D.C. or Atlanta or Miami, warm cities that are, and I lived in an urban setting, I might have an EV. But practically speaking, out here in the hinterlands and the flyover states, they're just not practical most days, to me. Am I wrong on that?
Really, they're great for short duration trips. They're essentially fancy golf carts. You and I have been subsidizing them
really
to
fancy
thousands of dollars so that wealthy individuals can buy them. It's been a third vehicle for many families for those short commutes that they want to do. but they're not practical for long applications. Certainly not driving in Texas where I live. Because you've just got a lot of miles. And people say, oh, we'll just build the infrastructure. Look, $8 billion in the Biden administration to build just a few charging stations in Ohio is a terrible use of taxpayer dollars.
It's embarrassing. You know, in Texas, you mentioned that Texas and Oklahoma have the cheapest gas in America now. The average less than $2.30 a gallon in Texas and Oklahoma, which means a number of stations in Texas, in Oklahoma, and other places are now below $2 a gallon. $1.99 gas in a number of places now. I've seen it all over social media. $1.99 a gallon. If it continues to get cheaper, because West Texas Intermediate was at $56 yesterday and going down, man, gas is going to be dirt cheap, which is what America needs. We need vast quantities of cheap energy to power our economy, whether it's Ford, General Motors, you, me, anybody else. Cheap money, right? Jimbo Fisher. Sorry about that. Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah. Jimbo Fisher. Yeah. We absolutely do. We digress, but we do. We need the utilities to get on board with the Trump administration's energy dominance agenda, because we need cheap electricity too. But the utilities continue to do what Ford is doing, and they're investing in things that are heavily subsidized by the government,
which is silly. I mean, here we are investing in. You're exactly right. Windmills and solar panels aren't getting it done.
No, and the batteries too. The batteries are astronomical in cost. Then you've got to build transmission that the ratepayers are paying. It's now 30% of an electric bill in Texas is paying for subsidized electricity that's built out in the middle of nowhere to get where the consumers are. We're paying massive amounts for transmission. Those costs are going up. They're tearing up our landscape across the country. It's absolutely absurd. We need to be building electric generation close to where the consumers are.
Powered by natural gas and coal. And modular nuclear. I mean, we just found so much natural gas in Alaska, we can power this country for years. They're building a pipeline. That'll make the left go crazy. Well, it will. You know that. Fact of the matter is hydrocarbons and energy density matter. We've got to stop wasting our money on pipe dreams. China, but you mentioned the turbines. Texas has more than anybody, which I found shocking, which you're mentioning you from Texas.
And every single one of our surrounding states pays less for electricity. Florida, which doesn't have natural gas like we have in Texas, has embraced the shale revolution. They've buried power lines because they get hurricanes occasionally. Not this year, but they've actually invested and put their money, because it's where their market is designed, to put it in the right places. Their electricity costs in Florida are cheaper than they are in Texas. It pains me to say that. Texas has got to reform its market so that we will reward reliability, not heavily subsidized Chinese wind, solar, and batteries. They're incredibly expensive.
All right, Jason, yes or no question, because I'm just about out of time. Is Ken Paxton going to be the next senator from Texas?
Oh, gosh, I can't give you a yes or no, but there's a great campaign going on in this state, and I think we've got some great candidates. I'm excited to see what happens.
Jason Isaac, thank you so much.
Great to be on. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Esquire Bob, thank you. Jimbo Fisher, I was just drawing a blank on it. I got clouded by $75 million in a buyout as being a failing football coach. Esquire Bob stepped into the gap and helped me out there. Thanks, Bob. I'll take a break. I'll be back with Ivy right after this. There it is. Oof. So, Ivy says, you didn't give me a Christmas list. I just sent her the perfect gift, and she just goes, oof. Of course, it's a 2023 Ferrari Portofino M. Oh, it's beautiful.
Just priced at $222,000.
Used.
Used.
You put that under the tree. Hell, I'll put the tree in with me, and I'll go cruising.
Hey.
Well, you can go. I didn't say accept you. You were not excluded.
Well, listen, we have to go out and play the Powerball because the estimated jackpot is $1.5 billion.
What?
So listen, you win that, you could definitely buy a $200,000 Ferrari.
Might be able to pay my bill to Esquire Bob.
Probably have no worries at that point.
Yeah. Well, you'd have a lot of worries. You'd have a lot of... The thing about something like that, you'd suddenly have a lot of new friends and relatives you never knew existed.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Hello, who's there? Oh, I'm Tom. I'm your cousin. Tom, we've never met. Yeah, but I saw your name in the paper. We're buddies.
My last name's Gruber.
Yeah, exactly. Anyhow.
Oh
All right, so we'll buy some tickets. I mean, to be honest, you and I have talked about this. You could do so much good. Let's say your net on that's half, $700 million out of $1.5 billion. You do so much good for people that really need it.
Absolutely. I would create a foundation working with underserved youth that are particularly involved in athletics.
Good idea.
And I would also probably start something similar for youth in being health conscious, especially
That's important.
with athletes.
Stop eating garbage.
When I was young, I was a pretty good athlete myself, and
Yes,
I
you
never
were.
realized how nutrition played such a vital role. And actually, my mom, she introduced me to electrolyte water before, electrolyte water was a cool thing.
Right.
And I didn't realize how sick I was based on what I ate, and I just did not ever. I performed well, but I could imagine how well I could perform if I actually fueled my body properly.
So not literally sick, but cheating yourself from getting maximum performance.
For instance, I would say play in a basketball game, and then I would go home and I would nap for an hour because it'd be so wiped out.
Right.
The same with other sports. It completely took everything.
Don't you think a lot of people do that, though? I mean, they put it all on the court or all on the field or all wherever, right?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But the fact of the matter is,
maybe
you have to fuel the body if you're going to perform it, and that's true in life.
What would you do if what kind of things would you put money towards in terms of giving back to the community?
Socks.
Socks?
I say that, and I'm not kidding. The number one thing that shelters, homeless people request when they get to a shelter, number one thing.
Socks.
New socks. Isn't that weird? I don't think about socks. I have socks. But it's the number one thing that people that are on the street or in a shelter or whatever, they want. Obviously, they want to eat, but they want socks.
Keep their feet warm, keep their feet protected.
So I would invest in, we would find some things to do. But I've always liked your idea. We've talked about this in the past. One of the jackpot gets huge. What would you do with that money? People talk about it, of course.
Sure.
You have always been consistent. I would help out underprivileged youth involved in sports so they have the same advantage of those that are, look, it's really expensive to put a kid on a travel basketball team or baseball team.
My niece, she moved here from Florida.
Right.
And we put her on a travel softball team, and
it costs thousands
of dollars because you have your hotel stay, you're in another state for 7 to 10 days.
Right, it was a national traveling team, not just a regional thing, right? It was expensive, but well worth it. She got a full ride to a D1 school, University of Virginia. Congratulations. So she's playing softball. And did you see this? Mm-hmm. There's now, they're drafting women for a professional softball league.
Really?
Yeah, it's a thing.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so maybe.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, I know how good she is.
Yeah, you should send that story to her and her mom. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would be amazing. But the Olympics first in 2028, and then professional softball as a career, at least for a few years.
The Olympic Training Center is actually at University of Virginia, some parts of it.
How convenient.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. But, you also need to be careful if you are a hiker in Utah's Arches National Park.
Why?
Because apparently you can get trapped in quicksand.
Oh, I saw that
So
story.
this hiker, Austin Dirks, was trapped for 2 hours in 20-degree temperatures before his rescue, and he was stuck in quicksand.
And he was no rookie. This is a guy that knew the place. He knows about being in the backcountry. He knew he had a professional almost. He got caught in quicksand. Can you imagine?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the point is you don't panic, right? Because I think the more that you panic, the more stuck you get.
Yeah, you get deeper. Every time you move, you sink deeper.
That's actually why, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but when we hike, I always have my emergency Garmin, but it's up here on my shoulder.
Right, unless you lose it on the trail.
Oh yeah, I did
and send your husband back to pick it up 2 miles back up the trail. Other than that.
We did that, by the way. I didn't send you alone.
Man,
what a treacherous thing. We haven't talked about that in a while, but what was it, last summer? Not this past summer, but the year before.
Summer 24.
We went to Isle Royale, and I've never been to a more primitive place in my life.
Yeah.
And where the trails were like obstacle courses.
Yeah, they sure were, mud and rocks and tree roots.
I think we put in 55 miles
Something
of
like
hiking
that over
while
6
we were
days.
there.
Yeah, it was remarkable.
It was beautiful.
I would do it
I kind of
again.
wish we stayed in one spot a little bit longer to kind of really enjoy.
Take it in.
Yeah, each other and the scenery, where it was like boom, 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 boom. Have to go to the place.
Yeah. America's most remote national park, a Michigan gem, Isle Royale. If you've never been, I suggest you go. If you're a little bit older, there are campsites where you don't have to travel miles and miles. You can just go set up and see the wolves and see the moose and enjoy your stay. It's beautiful.
And before I run out of time, because I know I'm probably pretty close, but I guess the other thing I would do is get involved in education, because you did the story, I think it was yesterday, the day before, where the tutoring, if you have a 4.0 and you graduate, only 30% or 40% of those people knew basic math, and then
Yeah, you know where they get exposed? On the ACT and the SAT. Oh, you're a perfect 4-point student until you get 1100s on your SAT, and they go, oh, wait a second, I'm a perfect 4-point student. That's because of grade inflation. You're exactly right. Ivy, I have to leave it there.
All right.
Always a pleasure. Love you.
Love you too.
There you have it. I'll take the Ferrari under the Christmas tree. Don't forget Portofino M. It's a beauty. I mean, I've worked hard. I've been a good kid. Final thoughts after this. There's something so seriously wrong with you, I can't even begin to understand it. I guess I'm not getting a Ferrari for Christmas. I'm so disappointed. Ivy said no to the $222,000 used car.
She said actually she's getting you 2 of them.
Oh, is that what it was? I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so I guess the order of the day is to buy lottery tickets. Not really a gambler. A little bit here and there. I dabble at best. I dabble. I don't need to call the hotline because I don't have an issue with it. Speaking of quicksand, you ever seen the little cartoon that shows up and the guy's betting on his phone and he sinks and sinks and sinks? Yeah. Anyhow,
yeah, Steve, I know people that they say they need to call the hotline because they need help with their picks. Especially during football season. They say, I need to call the hotline, need help with my picks.
Yeah, I'm going to bet on the Lions.
People I know.
If I bet on the Lions today to win the Super Bowl, I put down $100, how much do I win?
Ooh, I'd have to check that out on futures, on those futures bets that they have.
What in the world was that? It'd be a lot, though. I mean, the Lions have got to be a long shot at this point.
I would think so.
Yeah, I would think so, too. All right, so how good is, I'm going to leave you with this, but how good is Michigan basketball? I mean, they just continue to pound people, and you keep telling me it's December, but a team that good Lord. And then you've got, what about this 18-year-old phenom in the NBA?
Oh, Cooper Flagg.
Whoa,
yes.
my.
He's been tremendous for Dallas. And that's who the Pistons play tonight, actually. The Pistons are in Dallas playing Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks. But Dallas is below 500 right now, and the Pistons are 21-5.
Well, which is remarkable. I don't watch the NBA. But I saw him. He just broke LeBron James' record for most points of somebody 18 years of age in the league in a single game.
Before the age of 19, he broke LeBron. Yeah, that's right.
Remarkable. What is he, 12 feet tall?
No, he's only, I think he's 7 feet tall, but he's got guard skills, which you're seeing more of these days.
That's remarkable. All right, Brock, thank you for that. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. And Ivy wants me to say this now. Remember, only you can save America.